Good morning and welcome to another episode of a Migrant's Journey. This is episode 27, I think. So yeah, I'm kind of losing count of how many episodes I did, and I'm so excited. I mean, each and every stories has such golden advice in them. I highly recommend you to watch all of them. But that's about 12 hours of videos that you can binge on. Head on to my YouTube channel to have a playlist of all those videos, and please do subscribe as well so that you get notified whenever a new video comes up. If you're watching this live or if you're watching a replay of this, please make some noise, leave a comment, say hi, hello, good morning, either on LinkedIn or YouTube, doesn't matter. The reason I say is that's how social media works. The more noise you make, the more people this gets to, and the more happier you make me. So that's kind of the intention. For those of you who you are watching this for the first time, I think I'm still a bit sleepy. If you're watching this for the first time, the idea behind this series is to give you a reality check of what immigrants or international students go through. The stories are specifically related to migrants in Australia. So the initial struggles, especially related to job search, is a struggle. It's not a easy move, especially because of the change in culture, the difference in expectations, and various other factors. Migrants usually struggle in the initial months or years here in Australia. So we have heard 25 stories of how people made it through it and what actually you have to do to make it through. I mean, the traditional methods of job search isn't very effective over here. There are other things that you can do and you should do. So that's the highlight. So today I have Raunak with me. Surprisingly, we have never met. When I started this show, he just shot me an email saying, "Hey, I'd like to be on your show," and that's how I just started talking to him 5 minutes ago. So I don't know what his story as well. So I am interested to get on board with this. So let's get into straight into things. Welcome, Raunak, to the show.
Hi Vinesh,
Good
how's your
morning.
morning doing?
Yeah, I'm still sleepy. So
Pretty much the same for me. So
yeah. So I think I'm messing up with the words already, but let's get straight into the things. So let's get straight into things. Who are you, Ronak, and what do you do?
yep, sure. So my name is Raunak, and I'm an iOS developer. Or to put it in simple words, I help develop mobile apps. And earlier this year, in late March, I started working full time in a startup called Counter. In the middle of the pandemic, I just started my first day working remotely, and it had been
Lucky
amazing so
you.
far. So yeah, I would just like to tell a bit more about what my company is, what my startup is about.
Yeah.
So Counter is a platform for documenting and sharing your belongings, a
Mhm.
tool which users can use to to save the environment by sharing their items more with each other. On a platform, users can organize their books, games, clothes, and other household items using our AI-based tags, which automatically categorizes the items,
Oh,
and then can share those items between you and your close friends for them to borrow it. And the idea behind this is it helps create a more circular economy where you actually borrow before buying an item.
hmm.
That helps save everything every energy and everything that's involved with producing an item.
That's
Especially
really,
it's for items that you don't use that often. It's
yeah.
say a tool or a book that you want to just read once. There's no point buying it and
Yeah,
then
that's a very interesting concept, and I think that will be really helpful in the communities, especially during this time. I mean, I'm part of my local community Facebook group, and I see a lot of posts, giving away or would like to have something, and I think that's a really useful tool to have and a
yeah, thanks.
problem to be solved. So good on you for that. So let's get to the beginning. The point. I think you came in here as an international student.
Yep, I just came here as an international student about 4.5 years now.
Yeah. So
It's
let's
been
go
that long.
four and a half years back. Yeah, I know time flies. So when you realized that you're going to do a master's or whatever it is you did over here, what preparation did you do before arriving in Melbourne over here?
So I came here to do my undergrad, to do my
Undergrads. Okay.
bachelor's in computer science.
Hmm.
Yep, I arrived in Australia in October 2015, and I started studying at La Trobe, doing my bachelor's in computer science.
Hmm.
And like before coming here, there was no plan as such. Especially I was like 18, very young,
Yeah.
and venturing out into this completely different world. And I was born and brought up in a very small town in
Yeah.
India, so like coming out here was a challenge in itself.
Yeah.
But I had close family who had stayed in Australia for like 10, 15 years.
Okay, that's good.
And so I had that initial support that many people don't have. And I'm
Yeah.
fortunate enough that I had that initial support.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had close family to keep me company and help me be comfortable.
Yeah. So the
Just during
having
the initial first phase of like
yeah.
a month or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, having someone over here can be a huge help. So yours, I think, is a unique story. I mean, I've been getting requests of, you have to interview people who have gone from undergrad and as a fresher, and how you made the market over here. So I'm excited to listen to this as well. So first things first, how was your experience here in Australia, at least the first few months, with regards to culture? Culture is
Oh,
crazy different, and the education system works completely different over here too. So I know how masters work. You choose what time that you study. Does undergrad work like that too? And can you share that part of it?
but yeah, definitely. Like the city has absolutely lived up to its expectation and its name. Like I did a little bit of research before coming here, like what are the touristy places that I should visit
Uh-huh.
and whatnot. And I was really excited about just watching a live match at NCG because I'm a big cricket fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, but as such, researching about the university, I did a little bit of research. I applied to like 4 universities and pretty much got offers from every one of them.
Hmm.
But I chose Latrobe because my uncle who used to live here, he studied at Latrobe and he heavily vouched for Latrobe. So I was like, that's where I'm going to go. And the campus, and I looked at a couple of photos and videos of the campus, and it looked amazing. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just go there.
Yeah.
Yep. As such, the difference between the education system, like it's completely different, to be honest. The first major difference that I realized the first day I went to the uni was you don't call your professors or lecturers by
Yes.
referring to them as sir or ma'am. You just call them straight up by their name. And I
That's
was
the
like,
hardest part,
whoa,
isn't it?
that's completely different.
Yeah.
And it took me some time to just adjust to that. And like the education here is more focused on doing projects and assignments rather than just studying for like 8 hours straight and then giving an exam or test,
Hmm.
which is and a lot of my friends like who were in India, they were studying in IITs and NITs, and they were like, oh, we had to study this, which is not even relevant to computer science
Mm.
for like X number of years before actually going into computer science. And I was like, no, I'm straight up. My first subject was actually programming,
Yeah.
and it's hands on, more hands on and more practical
Mm.
than what is back in India, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I think there are a lot of differences, and especially when it comes to what you do or what you can do. In a country like India, there are people there to force you to do stuff. Here, on the other hand, I don't think anyone will force you to do anything. You do what you want.
But yeah, like your degree is like completely open book. So you
Yeah.
have your core subjects. Like mine was a pretty flexible degree. So every semester I had like 2 or 3 major subjects that I had to choose,
Hmm.
and then there was 1 or 2 subjects that I can choose from anywhere. So
Mm.
I did study one sociology class. I did study one subject in entrepreneurship. I did study one subject in sports management. So my degree, if you look at my degree and the core courses that are there, it's widely different from what a degree would look like in India, where it's just focused on like one topic that is
Yeah,
either computer science or engineering or whatnot. So
excellent.
you have more flexibility and you can choose. And because there were certain subjects that I did which had some prerequisites,
Hmm.
but then after talking to the professors, I was like, I'm really interested in doing this, but I don't have the prerequisite and I really want to do this subject. They were like, okay, just come to the first lecture or so, and then we can have a discussion later on.
Mm.
Before there's a date. I don't remember what's it called. It's called, I guess, cutoff date or something.
Yeah,
So you can change your mind before that. So there is a lot of flexibility in terms of how education works here.
yeah. So a lot of choice on you. So if you are a person who knows what you want to do, good for you. But if you are anything like I was, I mean, I absolutely had no idea what I wanted to do. I just went with the flow, right? So that's a really good opportunity. So is this still 4 years over here or undergrad?
Oh no, it's 3 years,
3 years.
but I did like one semester extra. I did like 3 subjects
Hmm.
additional to that. So yeah, it's more or less it's 3 years, but I did a semester extra.
Yeah. So now let's get to the job search scene over here, especially as an undergrad. There is no concept of a campus placement over here, right? I
Oh
mean
yes,
that
there is
that's
not.
there is no concept over here, and how let's get in the beginning. I'm sure it evolved over time, but how did it start looking for a job over here? And
Yep.
yeah.
So, yep, like after I graduated in December 2018, and it took me like 3 months to get my first professional job.
Hmm.
So when I graduated, I didn't think that the job search would be so tough, and especially for a new graduate who's looking for a very specific role. I was like, from the first day itself, I was just looking for a junior iOS developer role, and I
Hmm.
didn't realize that the expectations and the bar for entry for a junior iOS dev would be so high, or any mobile engineer in general. So that was the first hurdle. And the other thing was because I was constantly chatting with my friends in India, and they had like this big companies just come in there and you just give the interviews.
Yeah.
You don't have to send
Yeah.
out your resumes or anything. You just have good CGPA, and then you just attend the interviews, and then
Yeah.
and also back in India, like big companies, they hire like massively. So from a campus, they get like
Yeah.
200, 300 students, which
Yeah.
is not the case here, definitely. And the other thing that I didn't know when I started applying for roles was there is this concept of grad programs,
Mm.
and I was actually late, and I just didn't apply for them up until July of 2018.
Hmm.
Whereas most grad programs they start filling up by the March or April
Oh, okay.
of that year. So that was something that I didn't knew.
Hmm.
Yep. So that's how it started.
Yeah. And
Yep.
did you how did you go about it? Did you just apply online, or what was the process you followed for job search?
Yep. So my first process, the way I started was after graduating, because it was end of December, so there was no hiring up until I guess mid-Feb. That's when most companies start hiring again. So as soon as Feb hit, I was just applying randomly on LinkedIn, Seek, Jora, and company websites, you name it.
Yeah.
But then very soon, I was just bombarded with tons of rejections. There was a time when I was applying for like a dozen jobs
Hmm.
a week,
Hmm.
but still I was just getting rejections, or I wasn't getting a response from many companies.
Yeah.
That was surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but before that, I knew like there are two ways that companies had. The first is the traditional way where you applied through the online portal or Seek or Jora.
Hmm.
And the other one was there's always a backdoor to the companies.
Yeah.
And this is something that I realized
Hmm.
when I actually, just a little backstory.
Hmm.
I'm also part of a meetup called Melbourne Cokeheads,
Hmm.
and I also volunteer at that meetup. I started going to that meetup in 2017, so a year before, oh, sorry, in 2018,
Hmm.
the year that I graduated in Feb. So I knew like there are people who actually post jobs in the meetup group or in
Hmm.
the Slack channel, and
Hmm.
there's always a backdoor.
Yeah.
But because I was not actively applying when I joined the meetup, I didn't know like they help you a lot.
Hmm.
So my first three and a half months, I was just applying online. I was just cold calling recruiters. Okay, I'm looking for work. I was just reaching them on LinkedIn everywhere. But later, then I got a good mentor at the meetup group. He looked at my resume and everything. He's like, you can just tweak this, and this, and a few other things.
Hmm.
And then people would actually start posting jobs on the meetup channel, because at every meetup we have a hiring and firing section where people just come out and say, okay, our company is looking for some junior dev or whatever, and you can just reach out to them,
Why
and
is
they
it
can.
called
And
hiring and firing section?
oh, because it's just a tradition
Yeah.
that they follow. It's called
Yeah.
hiring and firing section.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there are a lot of contractors in the world of mobile
Yeah.
development. So sometimes their contract expires and they're just looking for new work, so they can just reach out.
Ah,
Okay,
okay.
I'm looking for some work. I'm available.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So, how did the response change? I mean, I'm sure you started dipping into the Melbourne Cocoa Heads meetup group for jobs after later on. So, what changed between just applying online and dipping into this backdoor, the so-called backdoor, or we call it hidden job market, or whatever it is called? So, what changed in these two approaches?
Oh yeah, it's just that when you're applying through someone or someone you know and who's already working in the company, it's easier for you to reach out to them, and because you have that initial connection, so you can have that one-on-one discussion of, okay, what is your company looking for and what are the requirements and whether I fit in that criteria or not. And the other thing is they sometimes go above and beyond, and they just pass on your resume to the HR,
Mm.
and they actually vouch for you. So your resume doesn't end up piling in that resume that the recruiters get online in
Yeah.
that 200 or 250
Yeah.
resumes. You actually, every job that I applied through Melbourne Cokeheads, I got that initial recruiter call,
Mhm.
which I didn't when I was applying online, and I got that initial interview as well for most of them. And I think that's because someone actually is there vouching for me, like, okay, this is the
Absolutely.
person I know of. And 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 recruiters, they just want to, they just want to hire the right person. And if they know it's coming from someone who's working in the company and is working in the same department, it's easier
Mhm.
for them to trust them.
Absolutely.
So
And that's quite a high response, considering, every application that you went through this meetup, you got a call back, which doesn't happen at all when you apply online. So that's quite some response rate that you have in there. But you mentioned that, people vouch for you, your resume can be forwarded directly to the HR or hiring manager. But um, strangers won't do that, and not always, at least, right? You have to still build that relationship, or you should have to still know that person, especially in the meetup group. You might have met them or something like that. So a lot of people just, for example, me, they send me messages, say, hey, there's a role in the company that I work, can you forward it to the hiring manager? And I don't absolutely even know that person, so it doesn't work that way, does it?
no, it doesn't actually. Like, I started going to the media group in Feb 2018, and I started applying for jobs in 2019, or
Hmm.
maybe the mid of 2019. So I had that initial year and a half of connections that I built through the media
Yeah.
group, and I was also actively volunteering. So people kind of, they didn't knew me. If they didn't knew me by my name, they
Yeah.
knew me by my face. Like,
Yeah.
okay, this is the person that's always there. He's very active in the community and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, and you can't just go out to a random stranger and be like, even if he's a regular attendee of the meetup, you can't just go up to them and be like, okay, I know your company is looking for work. Can you just hire me? That's not
Yeah.
how it
It's
works. You just have to build that initial connection, or
absolutely.
some common points. You just have to talk to that person at least once or twice before bringing this conversation.
Absolutely. And I always say network is a slow burn. It takes time, and the best time to start networking was yesterday, and the next best time is today. Raunak took 1.5 years to establish connection. So that's the
Yep,
reason
right.
I say, it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. If you think, okay, 1 week, let me go for 5 meetups and I'll get a job next week. No, that is not
No,
the way
that
it
that's
works.
absolutely not how it works. No, not how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's absolutely not the way it works. So, finally, how did you end up in the role that you? How long did you take? I mean, after undergrad,
Ah,
how long did it take for you to get this role, and how did you end up in this role?
oh yeah. So I graduated in December 2018, and
Hmm.
just started working this year, late March. So it's like a year and 3 months.
Okay.
How long it took me to get the first job.
Hmm.
And like I applied through online, through LinkedIn, through Seek and Jira, and through this networks. And I was the majority of the interviews that I got, those were from these connections.
Hmm.
So yep, I started work. I got, because the funny thing is, my current employer, he's also part of the meetup group that I go
Excellent.
to, and we also attend conferences. It's just that we never talked
Yeah.
because I was so busy either volunteering, or I was busy because in every meetup, and this was a big meetup. This was a meetup of between 50 and 100 people every
Okay.
month.
Yeah.
So you have that initial, yeah, you have your own bunch that you most of the time you spend time with,
Yeah.
and then you just venture out a bit.
Yeah.
So it was one of those. Yeah, he never talked. We never knew each other. But the other thing was, I gave like two presentations and talks, so he kind
Hmm.
of knew me by face. Like, okay, this is a person who's really passionate about cook ahead. And someone actually referred me to him, who's working in the same office. Like, hey, there's this guy, he's looking for work, and the company was actually looking for a junior dev.
Hmm.
So he just referred me, and I just passed on my resume.
Hmm.
I just went to the office, had the initial conversation, and the first impression of him was, I know you. We've met somewhere. I don't know where, but we definitely have met.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I've seen your talks and everything. And so we had that initial connection. So
Yeah.
there was no friction when the interview started.
Yeah.
And even before the interview, we spent like 15 minutes talking about everything that is going on in the
Hmm.
world of
Hmm.
iOS development and whatnot. So
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. You said you gave a couple of presentations in this meetup as well. So as a junior developer, how did you do that? I mean, the questions I get is, I'm fresh out of college, I don't have experience, I don't know what to do, things like that. But giving a presentation in a meetup group of 50 to 100 people, that gives huge visibility, and that kind of set your stone for the job that you have right now too. So uh, again, the idea that I want to give is, it's not rocket science. Well, let's get to you. I mean, how did you manage that part of
yeah, because it's just that we actively in the meetup group, we actively look for speakers.
it? Hmm.
And there was a couple of months where we were pretty dry and we didn't had a lot of speakers. So it was actually the organizing members who were just stepping in
Yeah.
every now and then to fill up those spots. And I was like, I have to do it now. I had a few ideas in my mind that I
Yeah,
want to give a presentation about
yeah,
because I was not working in the industry, so I
yeah,
didn't knew what the standards were,
yeah.
what the standards of programming were or whatnot. So I did that, and it was not a very tech heavy
Mm,
presentation. It was just a very light
yeah,
presentation, and I was like, I have to do it either now or in like 6 months time when I get a job. So better start now. So I
absolutely.
reached out. I reached out to the other organizer. I'm like, okay, I am happy to give a talk on this month, and I was like very straightforward. I was like, I have never given a presentation before, and they actually helped me tie up with a mentor
Mhm.
from the same meetup group who had a lot of experience, and he just helped me flesh out the idea and help me out and go about how to structure a talk and how to actually give it. So
Mhm.
yeah, like if you just it's just that if you are in a meetup and you have that initial connection built up, it's you just have to reach out and people are happy to help because I've
Absolutely.
I've got like three mentors from the meetup group who actively talk to
Yeah,
and be like, okay, this is a problem that I'm stuck on or how to go about this.
yeah.
They actually help you a lot. It's just that you have to build that initial connection and then start reaching out to people. I guess that's
Yeah.
very important.
I think there's a small misconception between what a mentor actually does. The mentor won't be on top of you and help you every now and then. It's on how you approach to them, right?
Yep,
You
right.
ask a very specific question, they'll help you. If you ask, hey, I want a job, can you help me? Uh,
Yeah, that's
it's
not how it works
yeah,
here.
that's not how it works. So I want to keep
And
keep that clear.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. And I guess the other misconception that people have is and the other hesitation that people have is how should you ask someone to be a mentor?
yeah,
and and I don't have the right answer for this, but I was like very open. I was like, okay, I need help. Can anyone just help me out there?
yeah.
I knew a certain group of people who were like really experienced,
Mm,
and I was just reaching out to them every now and then, either through Slack or when we were catching up on the meetup because
mm,
our meetup had like three different events. So one was the normal meetup, the second was one was the hack night, and the third one was the drinks night. So I was pretty much active in all three of them.
mhm.
And on hack nights, I would just sit next to them and try to understand how they solve a problem. And if I had some problem, I'll just reach out to them.
Yeah,
So it's just that you have to have that initial connection, and then you
absolutely.
have to reach out. For me, I was just reaching out to every other person who I thought was smarter than me and could help me in some way, and that helped me, build that connection stronger.
Brilliant. I absolutely love your story, Ronak, and I would like any postgrad or undergrad to, I mean, who are thinking, I have no experience. What do I do? That is a common thing. But you have knowledge, you have skills, you have to be a part of the community. Like Ronak did, he was part of Melbourne Cocoa Heads, and that's how it started, and that's how it completely built up for him. He gave presentations in a meetup, and that's not an easy thing, but it is actually very easy if you are
Yeah,
part of the
it
community.
if you just get out of that initial hump, it
Yeah,
becomes really easy, and
and
it comes naturally. You don't feel the pressure of actually going to a meetup and talking to that person. You just have that connection, and you can actually continue those conversations out of the meetup
absolutely,
anywhere.
absolutely. And I'm part of a group of Melbourne C++ meetup as well. And there also I get messages, hey, is anyone ready to take up a presentation this week? Because I mean, eventually people will run out of presentations and people who to
Yep.
do it. So that's when you jump in. Like Ronak said, it's not necessarily be technically heavy, those presentations. Even some basic presentations sometimes work, and all you need to do is your homework and present to the community, and that's where your visibility and your credibility will increase. And make a post on that, and then people know, hey, you're not just sitting there and applying online, you are doing something, you have the
Yep.
knowledge
Right.
to give presentations, and your the image of you completely changes, and that's how it builds up. And an excellent story of how
Yep.
going regularly to meetups kind of ended up build the foundation for Ronak, build the connections, and eventually got him a job as well.
Yep.
So
And the other thing, Dinesh, that I would like to add is like people here and companies especially, they really put emphasis on the projects that you do. If it's a personal project or if it's a uni project, they put heavy emphasis on that. And like during all my interviews, most of the conversations, somewhere or the other, rounded up across the project that I was doing. And I had a few pet projects, and they were like really interested in how I came about this idea, what I'm doing now, what's the timeline like, and how I'm developing this in my own time. They were
mm,
really interested in that, and that kind of like when you go for an interview, the initial thing is like, okay, I'm in an interview situation, you get really tense.
Yeah.
But I guess if you have something in common to talk about, that just kind of helps you break the ice and sets you in the mood really easily.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a golden point too. Another question that I often get, I'm a fresh graduate. I don't have any experience. So I say, you have done internships, you have done projects, you have done a lot of stuff in a uni. Practice on how to explain that in an interview. That's important. You
Yep,
think
right.
that's nothing, but that is a lot, right? If you
Yeah,
can
because
actually,
that's yep.
yeah, if you can
Yeah, you
actually
can continue.
quantify what happened in there, if you can actually explain what is it that you did in there, that is what you people want in the end.
Right, yeah. Because when you go for interviews, the people that are interviewing you, they know you have the practical knowledge, you have the skill set to do the job, but they're not really sure of how you articulate your ideas and how well you can explain the decisions that you're making. So that's what they want to actually. That's why they're actually interviewing you. They're not actually interviewing you for the skill sets. They're actually interviewing you for whether you're a good fit in the team and how well you bring ideas to the table and how well you take decisions and happen and make that into reality and actually do the job.
Hmm.
It's not the actual skill set, it's more about the thought process that they
Absolutely,
interview you
absolutely.
for.
Yeah, so that thought process is key. So thank you so much for your time, Raunak, today. I'm listening to your story for the first time as well, and I'm absolutely delighted to have you on board. This story
Yeah,
is
thanks.
important. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and being a part of this. Anything you'd like to share or anything that we missed out?
Nothing in particular, but just a word of advice.
Yeah.
If you are a junior dev or a fresh grad and you don't have that experience, the only way to get experience is start early when you're still studying. Reach out to people, go to meetup groups, because there are people who actually want to help you out. But if you don't go to meetups, you'll never meet those people, and you never know there is a pool of resource just sitting there, and you just have to tap into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is available for you. That's what I hear. Melbourne, Australia is indeed a place, what of opportunities? I forgot. A place of opportunities, or there is a keyword to that. I forgot that. But you have to go chase it. You have to find it. No one is going to
Yep,
give
right,
it to you.
absolutely.
Spoon feeding doesn't happen here. There are tons of resources, be it in your uni, be it in meetups, be it in networks. There are tons and tons and tons of resources. But if you say there's nothing for me, that's probably because you're expecting things to happen for you, which
Yep.
kind of doesn't happen in this country. You have to chase it down. You have to
Yeah, yeah,
understand.
you have to reach out. You have to put the first foot forward. That's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, Raunak. I'm sure our
Yep,
viewers had a
no worries.
lot, tons of insights into that. If you have any questions or anything at all for us, please leave a comment on LinkedIn or YouTube, and we'll get back to you. And how can people, if people want to reach out to you, Raunak, what's the best way to do that?
I guess the best way would be Twitter because I'm not really active on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
But like the link to my Twitter page is on LinkedIn.
yeah,
I sometimes check my LinkedIn,
yeah,
but not that often.
yeah,
So if you want to reach out, you can reach me out on LinkedIn or there is my Twitter handle on LinkedIn.
yeah,
On LinkedIn. So
yeah.
you can just
So
reach out anywhere you want.
So Twitter is the best place to reach out for Raunak, and
Yep.
that's absolutely fine. If you think why some people don't respond to you on LinkedIn, this is an example, right? Not
Yeah.
everyone is on LinkedIn. Although people ask, hey, you should be on LinkedIn, you should be on LinkedIn, but that's a personal choice, and not everyone is on LinkedIn. So the best way to reach out to Raunak is through Twitter. It is available in his LinkedIn profile, so you can redirect it through that. But otherwise, if you have any questions for me or Ronak, please leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Also, do subscribe to my channel to binge on all the episodes and to have a few more exciting, interesting stories that's coming up. So, thank you so much for your time, and thank you to all your viewers. I'll see you again tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks, Dinesh.
Yeah.